All right, folks, how you doing? So I've been thinking about something recently about the monuments at Cydonia and the pyramids at Elysium. And the one thing I've found through Hancock and through Hoagland, and by the way, it is necessary to examine both sources because they're different yet similar, is that the monuments on Mars are very much larger than what they are on Earth. And I can't help but think about that because, like, the face on Mars is so much larger than anything on Earth. And the pyramids on Mars at Cydonia and Elysium are so much larger than anything on Earth. And it reminds me of this clip from one of the old James Bond films. And I think, by the way, Pierce Brosnan was a very good James Bond. I've gotten a lot of shit for that, but I still maintain that opinion. But anyway, let's have a look at this clip. What's the dialogue?
I could have given you the world.
Oh. The world is not enough.
Foolish sentiment.
Family motto.
Yeah, the world is not enough. Okay. Anyone thinks he's talking about this world, right? Or the world in general. But what world is he really talking about? Because when you read, David Icke with The Biggest Secret and Brian Desborough's They Cast No Shadows and all that, where Icke basically got it from in the first place, which world are they talking about? We assume they're talking about this one, right? But what if they're talking about the one that they lost? And it's kind of irony or kind of like an in-joke, like the world is not enough, like the world that we lost is not enough. As in, no matter how hard we try to recreate it on this one, we'll never get it back. We will try to create Mars 2.0 on Earth, and Earth is largely Mars 2.0 to a very great extent, though the grip of the Martians is weakening daily. But, it's like we know we'll not get it back, so we might as well have a laugh about it almost. It's kind of like a bitter irony. The world is not enough. As in this world is not enough because it will never be the one we lost. Is that reference to ancient Egypt, as Michael Tazarian thinks, or does it go deeper than that? Yes, it kind of is a reference to Egypt, but only insofar as Egypt was the fingerprint of Mars on Earth, and the Egyptian civilization was the weakened successor to what Mars used to be. And it reminded me of something else, just kind of an offhand quote, though maybe it's not quite so offhand. And I'll show you kind of what I mean here, if I can ever figure my way around this technology. Fucking hell. How do I do this again? Share screen. Yeah, here we go. So here we have Denethor II was a Numenorian. This is just in Lord of the Rings. The blood of Numenor ran almost true in Denethor and in Faramir, but not in Boromir, according to Mithrandir. The bloodline of the stewards had mixed with that of lesser men, but still they were of Numenorian blood. Now, Numenor, or things like that, it didn't occur to me until like 10 minutes ago. Things just occur to me sometimes, just offhandedly, just randomly, just strike me, just like a lightning bolt. That comes, I think, with having strong Aquarian influences in your in your natal chart. I'm not strictly speaking an Aquarian, but I do have those strong influences. And sometimes when you have Aquarian influence, things just hit you like lightning bolts. Because that's kind of their symbol is lightning. Or the water bear. Or sometimes you get little drips, and sometimes things just hit you like a torrent. But the whole Aquarius thing is thinking outside of the box. And the whole thing about Numenorian blood, I was thinking about the word Numenor. It sounds like number. And where does number come from? It comes from geometry. And one thing I've learned through Hoagland in his interviews with Art Bell is that to understand Cydonia and Elysium and Mars, you have to understand geometry, calculation, and numbers, and even just the space probes going to Mars, like the Viking orbiter and all this kind of thing, and the space probes, all that kind of thing. You need a strong understanding of numbers. So Numenor means number, and number means geometry. And that again goes back to the whole thing of the world is not enough, as in this world is not enough because it will never be the world that we had before, as in Mars. And Mars seems to be heavily run, or was heavily run, on geometry and numbers, mathematics, geometry, geology. These things are the language of the universe. English is not the global language. Numbers is. Numbers always has been. It's all about calculation and mathematics, and above all else, geometry. So when they say Numenor, in other words, the island in fiction in Tolkien's universe, but in real life, really the Phoenicians were really the Numenorians in real life, the people who understood calculation, mathematics, geometry, and numbers. So the blood of Numenor is the blood of those who understood the numbers and the geometry and the mathematics. That's what I take it to mean. But it's all in coded language kind of thing. But again, coded language is just geometry. So the blood of Numenor, the blood of those who had the wisdom and who had the science and the knowledge to build things like what was lost on the world that they had before, like Cydonia and like Elysium, the big pyramids and the face on Mars and all that, because it's heavily dependent upon calculation and, above all else, geometry and mathematics. But anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I've tried to explain it as best I can, kind of thing. It's kind of a rambly, kind of ranty outpouring of thought. This was without notes or without kind of structuring. It's just something that occurred to me that I felt like sharing. So anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, leave your thoughts and comments down below.